Yes, this will work. Yes, shall work. Take away American thing. Shall work. I just need a brush. Yes. Yes. It worked. It bleed.
Ivan, what are you doing?
It is not what it seems. No. I make it paint red to go faster. Yes.
Really? Well, it really looks like you're holding one of my guardsmen there. And you're trying to paint him red.
It is not like that. Oh, it.
Ivan, so what you're telling me is this is not like last time, where you intentionally took one of my Valkyries that was already painted like a D-Day lander, and you painted it red to make it go faster, and then you kept saying to everybody else that it was Soviet.
No, that was very funny, but no, I will, no.
No, I'm just not buying it. Come on, give me it.
Wait.
Not in the eye. That's not. Ow! That's not fair, Ivan. You want to know what's really funny? I'm getting way too old for this. Well, hi there. My name's Whiplash, and this is a really weird video. So, as many of you know, the Guard Armageddon box came out. The first one, not the second. And I actually was able to create this. This is the first ever RC Hippogriff. And I will be showing videos of it working, but the turret unfortunately doesn't move. But hey, that's great, because if it did, it would be a nightmare. And because I am lazy and because I am cheap, I like to make things, because this war game is already expensive enough. I like making things simple and easy and cheap, so that we don't have to waste our money on something super complicated, like learning how to code, all that stuff, which I am going to learn how to do later. But because of that, you also get to see all the internals and all the good bits in here, just in case you have to change the trim or anything else. But in this video, I'm going to show you how I did this, because I posted it on Reddit and it absolutely exploded. And everybody wants to know how to do it and how I did it. And I'm going to show you how to do it, and it will basically take you, I think, relatively about 2 hours. I think the hardest part is actually merging the actual RC part to the chassis. Now, this one doesn't look as pretty, but I will try and make it look better in the actual video of how to do it. Now then, what you will need to do this build. You will obviously need, not this, but you will need that little guy right there, the Hippogriff. As of making this video, the Hippogriff is actually out in individual boxes, which is great, but I mean, they're also expensive as all get out, because it's like, what, $80 for one? Yeah, GW does not like us, but there's a solution. You will also need, don't ask why the bag is gone. The bag is gone because the bag tore. But you will need Legos. And I'll show you specifically what kind of Legos in this video. And it is mainly for the mid wheels, because the mid wheels come off. And they are just Lego pieces. Why? It got them out of the way and is no longer a headache for me to do. So, simple, easy. Again, I'm lazy. So you'll need the Hippogriff model itself. It does come in a single sprue, which is great and easy, and I love because this little thing is 75 points, and it basically is just a hit and run, shoot and scoot extraordinaire. And for 75 points, it does great, because this thing can be equipped with a battle cannon, a melt-a-gun, or a heavy stubber, and basically is just like its main loadout that you get it first off. But it can also be changed out with a thermal gun, basically a bigger melt-a-gun for the main gun, a las cannon, a Punisher cannon, which is basically a chain gun, which, who doesn't like minigun? Am I right? And other than that, I think that's about it. Forgive me, I may be a little stupid, but it's fine. Moving on. Then you'll need this. This is the actual RC component. And it actually works pretty great. It literally is the exact right dimensions that it needs to be for this RC little armored car. It literally is the same length, which is ridiculous. But, again, it's just a few screws. This comes off. But, again, it is a little complicated how you actually make this into this. And I will get right into that right now. But, again, this is the 1/43 scale drift car thing. I just got it off Amazon for, I think, $50. That seems right. And yeah, it actually was a little bit of fun just playing with this as a regular car. Again, not sponsored by any of this stuff. I'm not saying anything about official GW license or about this company or anything like that, or Lego. I am just simply giving you the tools to make this conversion yourself at home. Why? Because RC is fun, and GW, they already screwed up in making it a historical-looking armored car from Britain from World War II. I'm still not happy about it, nor am I happy about the Griffin. But we're not talking about that today. We'll get that later. So
to start off, you want to make sure that you have some cement glue, some hot glue, and a good Dremel nearby, along with some different heads. With that, you do also want to make sure that you just take these screws out and kind of dismantle the actual RC car and take that chassis off. That is basically the first steps to get this going. And yeah, I would say that this one is pretty good for it, but I highly recommend that you're going to be doing a lot of detaching and reattaching the wires, so be very careful of that. And yeah, just starting off, taking off the chassis and then disconnecting all the wires and then making sure that you get all your materials set up first. I constantly have to go back and forth to the original Hippogriff just because it is the original, and making some modifications and some improvements, but again, back to basics is always great. You will need the instructions pretty handy just because the first basic steps of making the Hippogriff is literally just making the bottom chassis and kind of tearing those guts up. That's basically it. So you want to make sure that you get those hitches on first, just because the first time I made the Hippogriff, I completely forgot it, just because it is little pieces and they were hard to find, so I basically just forgot them. But make sure that you don't. So after that, as we're going to be seeing, we are just going to be making the indents into basically making the pathway of the chassis and where the actual RC chassis is going to fit in, kind of like right there. So you want a good hobby saw, and basically you're just going to kind of make indents of where you're going to use your Dremel to cut out that midsection, and because basically you don't need it anymore. And please remember, don't cut yourself. It's not fun, and kind of makes you look stupid. Alrighty, and those are the indents of where we're actually going to cut, and that is it cut with the Dremel, and then we're going to go in with the pliers and just kind of rip out the remaining parts. Don't want to Dremel all the way in, just because then you could damage other things that might screw you up later on in the project. Alright, and with that ripped out, we are on the first stages of getting this thing remote controlled. And yeah, next is going to be working on the chassis. First, we're going to be removing those screws to the actual circuit board, or the control board, whatever you want to call it. Nerd. Whatever you want to call it, basically just removing it from the chassis itself to make sure that it isn't a constant pain in the neck, just because we are going to be cutting this part as well. So once we have the screws removed, we will be moving on to cutting up the chassis and making it fit to our Hippogriff. And keep in mind, one screw will be hiding under the antenna, which I found out the hard way, again. But again, it should be about 4 or 5 screws, and it should come right off. And then you're going to have to unplug the actual connections to the battery, the board, and the steering motor. Alright, now that we got that off, you actually have the chassis itself. We're going to go back to the frame that we cut and start cleaning that up. We're going to be using a flat Dremel bit and just cleaning up the sides to where we're going to be cutting the wheels later. Make sure that we get a smooth surface so that, well, we don't run into pesky things later on. Having an undercarriage or kind of a scratch bottom would be very cool, but it's just a lot to cut and would be very much in the way. But now that you guys have that, you want to make sure that it is smooth and you get rid of those edges. And like that, here's an example of that edge that you want to get rid of. So right now we're going to be making an indent, and I'm going to be showing you what kind of pattern that you want to get rid of all that material to make your holes for your wheels. Alright, and after we have cleaned up, we're ready to make those indentations and make the holes for the wheels. And we can see right here that it is pretty on point of where it's going to be fitting on the RC car. This, I will warn you, you do not want any glue and nothing on that on that transmission line, or else the car will just not move at all. And you'll see performance issues later, but one thing I will warn you, you do want it vertical. One thing I did not do here, and I did not show you, is that you want to also boot the actual steering mechanism up, connect it to the board and power, and then unscrew the actual thing, and then reattach it in a vertical position when you put it vertically on, and then reattach the screw. That's how you're going to get a good trim and everything like that. But right now, we're just going to be trimming the back of the car and the front of the car actual chassis to make sure that it's all nice and smooth. We will have to come back later just because it wasn't fitting properly, and we're going to have to be removing a good bit of material and just cutting it out. Pretty much so it's like that. We will have to come back later and readjust it a bit just because it wasn't fitting just right, but basically you are making the frame a skeleton build. Alrighty, and yep, just cutting off the front of the chassis, just that lip to make sure that it does get in the way, and when you glue it, you have a good connection. Now onto the wheel wells. This is the indentation that you guys want. You want that big section just to make sure that those wheels don't rub up against anything, and when you glue it, to make sure that it's not too close to the front, or else you'll just be rubbing against the actual frame. And make sure that you don't glue it too far backwards, but this is the holes that you want in order to get those wheels through, just like this. And again, if it doesn't fit too well, just make sure that you go back. You might have missed some sanding like I did. Just like here, I had to go back and trim that up. And don't mind if like the actual like grease area is exposed. It shouldn't affect it too much. My other Hippogriff has been running for months and it hasn't been giving me too many problems. Right now we're going to be making that little dimple so that the steering mechanism can actually move. Pretty much it's just removing more material so that the wheels are free to move left to right. And you do want to make sure that it is flush to the bottom of the RC car. That pretty much gives the top of the tires, when you glue them on, enough clearance to not rub against the top or be too far to the bottom where nothing just sticks together and it's just a frame on a loose chassis. Alrighty, and now just reattaching the board. You can screw it back on or you can glue it. Hot glue should not affect this board too much, but again, that is your personal preference. If you just want it glued or if you just want it loosey-goosey, that's completely fine. Alrighty, and moving forward, we are going to be reattaching the back of the actual model. That little smokestack area, we are going to be attaching that to the top, like the top of the chassis, in order to get it ready for when we are sealing the whole model back together. And basically, once we seal the model, both halves together, you can take it back apart. It is just difficult, especially if you're using plastic glue, and it is just tedious. So that's why I say make sure that all the trimming and it fits correctly and everything is smooth before you seal it, just because then afterwards it is just a pain in the neck. Okay, and with that, we made sure that, especially that front lip there, kind of like that frog bottom mouth, is also flush, because my first time doing it was not flush and it just wasn't fitting right. But now we're going to be gluing it to the front and making sure that, once again, it is the bottom of the frame of the model is also flush with the bottom of the frame of the chassis. Just to make sure, again, it's a nice reference to make sure that the wheels aren't going to be too tall or they aren't going to be too short. Alrighty, and this is it all glued together. Next, we're going to be moving on to just some finishing touches and making sure that everything is running smooth. Again, this is kind of where you want to be if the trim is correct or not. Again, just something you can make sure of. All right, and then sealing those two together is the next step after you're done. And then after that, we are going to be moving on to the tires and connecting those together. This is where that Lego piece or those Lego pieces are going to be coming in handy. I don't remember specifically what it was, but it was just a big pack of Lego tires on Amazon, and it came with the connecting pieces as well. This kit comes with these drift tires or something, whatever they're called, but they can be detachable, and this is what we're going to be connecting to the actual tires to go on to the model. Now, please do keep in mind that these go on a specific way. There is a certain lip on it to make sure that it actually goes on, and that is the outer edge. The one with no lip is the part that actually goes on first to the tire wheel, and the part that has a lip is what we are going to be gluing onto on the inside of the wheel. So basically, just at the back of the tire, we're going to be attaching the lip to make sure that it is a smooth connection, and you do want to make sure that this is kind of as seamless as possible, or you can really just make one tire kind of bounce, which you really don't want unless you do. Personal preference, you know. But again, you want to be doing that to all 4 tires and make sure that they are as level as you can get. This isn't rocket science, but again, if it's too wanky, it can kind of just make your vehicle look like an orc vehicle. All right, and next step is just to connect them to the wheels, and next would be creating the mechanism in order to actually connect the Lego wheels to the wheel itself. And I will say that those wheels actually never touch the ground, just because they give problems all the time, and they're just they love to be conflicting. So basically what we're going to be doing is attaching those Lego wheels in a spot that it displays them, but they never actually touch the ground. Basically, it's just to make sure that it doesn't drag one way or another, or just interferes, because that's all they will do. They never perfectly spin. As we can see that we've attached them, and it is looking pretty, we are just sealing the top and the bottom together. And what you do want to make sure with the bottom of the chassis as well, kind of that flap at the bottom, you want to make sure that it is also level. You get rid of all of those details, just so that the wheels don't catch on anything or anything like that. So, and this is the piece I was talking about. We are basically just going to be splitting this in half and then cutting the edges as well to make sure that it fits in that little groove there. And then again, we're going to be doing it high enough to where the actual top of the tire is pressing against the top of the fender, but that it's not touching the ground, so that it doesn't drag the car from left to right. But again, we want to make sure that fender is sanded down so that there isn't any rub against the tire. And then that is basically your Hippogriff done.
And with that, that is how you make the RC Hippogriff. I know this one looks a little different than how the chassis finished in the video. I've just finished customizing it and building it. I do also like having the barrels optioned, so, you know, one thing that I love about them. But again, one thing that I didn't show you in the video is there's a part, actually, I will show you real quick before I send you guys away. That part in there, the actual part that spins or turns the wheels, I forgot to mention that when you're doing that, you should, before you glue it to the base, boot it up, let it spin, and then unscrew the screw that is at the front, and then instead of having it horizontally, angle it vertically so then you can actually adjust the trim on it. Again, I would try and adjust the trim first before you seal everything up, so pretty much just leave it on the bottom of the chassis, and then just wait to seal the top chassis until you are fully done with it, or you have the trim so that you can angle it just right. But again, I did show that, or going to show that these do work. So basically you just turn on the remote and then take a small screwdriver and boot it up this way. And also one of the reasons why you want to make sure that the trim goes well, because if you don't, every time you have to reset the trim, which is a little annoying, but is perfectly fine in moderation, because you get that. Which again, if you do have that Armageddon box, you can theoretically have them both going at the same time. So you have this one connected. All you do is you boot this one up as well. This one I did kind of mess up on the trim a little, which is why I'm mentioning to do it before, because see how far that trim goes all the way? I have to set the trim all the way to the left in order to counteract that, which again, stating it for obvious reasons, but can get a little annoying. But you can have them both running at the same time, which is great because again, these little guys are, depending on what box set you get, these could come to around $200 each, just with the RC set itself, and then the work that has to be done, and then actually purchasing the model itself. But again, really cool, and that is how you make an RC Hippogriff. Thank you very much for your guys' time. You guys have an explosive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Whatever that will freaking be.